Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. It is Tuesday. JMart's with me today. Wow. What Jayden Daniels did last night. I'm just gonna rant for about 2 minutes here because that was fantastic. That was amazing. They were nearly perfect. The Commanders scored on every single possession. Had a field goal on one of them. Otherwise, they just tortured Cincinnati. They couldn't stop them. They played 9, 10, 12 quarters last night. I still don't think they would stop them. I mean, everything they would get 3rd and 1s, 4th and 2s, and Daniels, the one throw he had to Ertz on the final drive that they had on 4th and 4, they were on the 39, Jmart. I thought they were going to kick the field goal, drops back, throws a dime over the middle. And then how about the pass to Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry down the – oh, my God, fuck the Bengals. I hate the Bengals, so I had a lot of fun last night. I don't want to say I got screwed over that the Bengals got a touchdown at the end because it was it was pass interference on their 2-point conversion. So go 2-1 on my bets. For you, you said the Eckler line was tripping you out. You were right. I think he got it on like the first 3 or 4 plays, right? And then the other 2 bets for you, and then I'll let you go, fell short barely. So it was a 1-2 day, but you're coming off a great weekend. So we're going to go through some of the games, get your perspective, but I mean, man, if you want to carry on or tell me your thoughts on this Commanders-Bengals game, but I am just blown away. Jayden Daniels.
Well, what killed me with the Jasicki bet is I actually expected them to play some kind of defense this game. And I think I saw a stat that they didn't punt or turn the ball over, have a turnover outside of, I think, turnover on downs the entire game. They just kept going back and forth at each other. And I just enjoy watching those games. I stopped caring about the bets once it
what a
gets
clean game. The Commanders get their first penalty in like the 4th quarter. The Bengals got 1 sack. The Commanders Burrow was amazing. Like Burrow was great. If you told me the Bengals scored 33 and went up 7-0, I sat there when they went up 7-0 and did I just do the Carolina thing where I forgot that if they go down 7-0, they're kind of screwed. But Jayden Daniels, it was 4th down on that first possession, right? It was like a 4th and 2 and he threw a dime over the middle.
I think so. It's just his arm talent is ridiculous. It was underrated in the draft cycle, but he can sling the football. People saw him just because he was a dual threat as he can't really throw the ball. He has to run the ball to be a productive quarterback, but he can really, really throw the ball. He's got one of the best deep balls that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, just perfect. Absolutely perfect. On the flip side, the Bengals now, they're in a weird spot. They got to go to Carolina, which is like a dead place to go against a team that's feeling good with Andy Dalton, who used to play against. So that's a tricky spot. And then they get to play the Ravens. Not great news for the Bengals. So I am doing a mini victory lap here this morning because I did not expect the Commanders' defense to be that bad. I mean, Burrow really picked them apart. But wow. So, all right, let's go to the other game. I didn't watch much of it, so fill me in. All I keep seeing in the top left-hand corner is the Bills score another touchdown. Your ETN bet should have hit. He has 4 catches for 17 yards. Your bet was over 21.5. So if he had 4 catches, you would have assumed he got there. And he had 68 yards on the ground. So he was clearly there. What the hell happened? Did you watch enough of it to give us some perspective?
The stat line makes him look like he had a better game than he did. The receiving yards should have hit. You catch the ball 4 times, you should be able to get 22 yards on those 4 catches. It's just unlucky. He has a 1-yard catch sprinkled in there. Those just shouldn't happen, but life happens sometimes. He was not good running the ball in the first half. He was able to start running the ball well because they, for some reason, just kept running the ball in the second half when they were down 27 points. And it kind of felt like they came out the gate knowing they weren't going to win the game, just trying to get Trevor Lawrence into some kind of rhythm. And it never happened.
Did you come away from so there's hot take the first couple of weeks of the season, the hot takes always fly out because one game here, one game there. But I don't see how the Jags recover. They go to Houston this week. That was one of the best games of the year last year. Jacksonville at Houston. Lawrence and Stroud are going back and forth. They're obviously getting rid of the coach if they can't get it done here. But so instead of burying Jacksonville, because I think that's relatively obvious, what's the read on Buffalo? They look great. They're coming to Baltimore next Sunday. You have no bias, so let's get your thoughts. Bills at Ravens next week.
Josh Allen has looked probably like he's the best quarterback in the NFL off of current form. He has been running the ball at will. He has been putting the ball exactly where he needs to passing. He's made Khalil Shakir actually look like a pretty dangerous receiver. He's made him be a guy that teams are going to now have to script for. And that's going to mean that he's able to get the ball to Kincaid more, get the ball to Keon Coleman more. And James Cook in that backfield being such a good receiving back and also being a really hard back to bring down. It's a really well designed offense, and they play it really well too. They know that they can run the ball if they have to, but they also want teams to be scared of the passing game. And so far, they've been really effective passing the ball as well.
Is the defense playing good because they're having the lead, or are you seeing? Because my reason for being down on the Bills was I didn't think the defense was going to be good enough, but they've looked great. What's your read on Buffalo's defense?
They truly haven't been tested yet. They've had 2 games where they've just stopped the other team on the first couple drives and then built up a lead. And when you have a coach like Sean McDermott, he is fully able to just call a game that is really conservative, won't give up the deep plays, and is willing to give them a couple yards every attempt and just be fine with that.
I was going to say my silver lining for the Ravens this weekend is they did struggle with Arizona and Kyler moving around. Their linebackers are weak, so spying against Lamar. But if you get the lead in the National Football League, it feels like everybody has a few pass rushers. And to your point, McDermott can dial it up. So once they get the lead on Jacksonville, and Jacksonville has no idea what they're doing. I don't – like, where are you at with Trevor Lawrence? Do you think if you just sent him to San Francisco, they'd go to the Super Bowl? Or do you think something's just not there with him?
One of my hot takes about Trevor Lawrence is I was never once high on him, even in college, even coming into the league. I thought he was you had to take him first overall in that draft, but I thought the skills that he had are enough to stay in the league for a while, but I never thought they were enough to be like the best quarterback in the league. I think he's good at everything, but he's not shown that he is super great all the time or great enough, consistently enough to actually be able to stand with the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen.
To your point, what I see is the lack of anticipation. So I want to move on to, because it's just not there. And in college, guys are wide open. He's got an amazing arm, but the anticipation, like to give Lamar credit, that throw that he made to Flowers to clinch the game, he threw it before Flowers was 100% open. Daniels last night on that first drive, remember he overthrew McClay because he wanted, even Aikman, I think, said on the broadcast, he wanted to see that he was open before he threw it. I don't know what my boy Anthony Richardson's doing with the Colts. I want to talk about this Colts-Bears game because I know your family, your dad's a big Bears fan. Your dad had to be going nuts there because they have – I don't know how they don't score any points in the first half as they're moving down the field. So go with it where you want, but my main takeaway from it is Anthony Richardson, is he like bench pressing before he goes out there? Because how do you throw the ball that hard over guys' heads when they're that wide open? And then how the Bears even lose? How they get a Hail Mary in the first – like that game was just ridiculous. So go ahead. What are your thoughts on that?
It was one of the most fun games to watch if you were a neutral fan. For me, it wasn't because Caleb Williams looked incredible sometimes. He was doing the same thing Anthony Richardson does, where he looks incredible sometimes, but then will come out and just – some of the decision making's not there. That the defenses were in the backfield like half the game. Like Caleb Williams had no time.
Why can't they even make me understand why they can't just leave? Why do they have to send 3 guys out? Like, why can't they just send 2 guys out, leave somebody else in the block? I mean, it's terrible. They're offensive.
Sorry. I saw a picture on the goal line. It was on the last play of the game. It was
I saw that. Yeah.
4 of the linemen are on the ground and the ball hasn't even – it's still 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Like, they're all already pancaked.
What are we doing with the option play at the end of the game like that? I mean, I had the Colts, so I'm, like, jumping up and down, but worst play call so far. I'm sure the Titans have a handful of plays that I could – actually, they don't have worst play calls. They just have Will Levis that takes it upon himself to do things.
Will Levis's decision-making is – it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what he thinks he's seeing sometimes. I don't understand what he thinks is open, but it's been fun to watch at least. But
yeah, Will Levis to me is like an example of like confidence gone wrong, which is you always want to be confident. It's like, especially if you're a coach, you're always preaching. If you're a teacher, like just be confident in yourself. Like you build a kid up. He's like one of those where he thinks that he's the best player in the world. And it's like too much confidence. Whereas back to my boy Jayden Daniels last night, it was like, just keep moving the chains. If it's not there, it's not there. But holding on to the ball, and that's the problem, I think, with Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson. It's the difference between them and Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels so far is decision making. Quick. And I'm not going to blame the Colts coach because I think Steichen's the best offensive coach in football. I was jumping up and down on him before the season. And frankly, I think the Colts they have to wait it out with Richardson because his athleticism is ridiculous. But if you swap Richardson and Caleb Williams, I think the Colts I think Caleb Williams is better than what he's given the opportunity to show, if that makes sense.
I think if Caleb Williams had cleaner pockets, like 20% more than he does right now, he doesn't need it much more. The Bears they'd definitely be 2-1. There's a chance they could be 3-0 if you just give him time to throw the ball in the pocket. And he just hasn't had any of it. When he does have time, he makes some really good throws. And it's the passing chart's going around everywhere right now. It's a really pretty passing chart, but he just needs a little more time. He needs a little more help from the guys in the trenches.
Yeah, I agree. Another game I know you watched, the Falcons, they fall short. I don't want to talk about it from the Chiefs' perspective because it's boring because they just always win. It's annoying. Everybody knows that. Excuse me, you are a Falcons fan. So what was the takeaway? Because there's a handful of plays they could have done differently. But what did you come away from the game thinking?
I think it might sound unfair to say this, but when you're playing the Chiefs and you're close against the Chiefs going into the final drive of the game, you can kind of look at the rest of the game and just be happy with what happened. You can say we're in the game right now against the best team in football, a dynasty team, and say, what are we going to do on this drive? And there was I think it was second down and like 4, and they called it a screen pass. And it was like, it's not the call. It's just never the call. You have big receivers and stuff like that. Just let them get open. And then on fourth down, they choose to run an outside zone that even Chris Collinsworth in the booth is saying has not been working the whole game. They run it out of a weird formation just because they think it's going to like fool the Chiefs defense. It's going to fool Spagnuolo, which just isn't going to happen. Sometimes you just got to just third and short, second and short, just run the ball a couple times. You have Bijan Robinson. Just get the first, and then you can start experimenting with this weird stuff.
Yeah, they lost both offensive linemen. They clearly weren't getting a push. They won last week against Philadelphia by just letting Cousins throw the ball down the field and see what happens. The refs wouldn't call pass interference against the Chiefs. They owed them. They already called 2. I know they missed the one in the end zone, but they called 2 on that final drive, tried to make up for it. It's really disappointing when it feels like it comes down to the coaching. The coaching is just the decision-making, the play calling, a lot of different things going left there.
No, the offensive coaching in the league as a whole right now has been really I'm not a fan right now. It's a lot of I think I've said this before. Offensive minds are trying to be too smart and they're trying to be too cute right now. And what they need to do is it needs to be simplified, and you need to go back to, if my best player is a running back and it's third and short, I'm going to run the ball. And if he doesn't get it the first time, he'll get it the second time. It doesn't need to be a play action to try and like get a big bomb throw over the top. Points are hard to come by right now. You got to like simplify the play calling and get it so you're just getting a couple yards every time to make it just a little easier for yourself.
Yeah, they'll go back. There's smarter people than me that have studied a lot of the numbers, but ever since the new CBA and the lack of practice in the training camp, the thing that affects the most is offensive line, because the defensive line, not that they don't need to be coached up, but run as hard as you can, as fast as you can, knock the guy in front of you, try to sack the quarterback. Offensive line, we all have to be on the same page. We have to anticipate the stunts and the blitzes. It's like the defensive line and the linebackers get to dictate what your pass protection needs to end up being. So you have to have tape. You have to bang into each other so they don't have enough of it. We've been seeing this trend for years. Last final thought, though, on the Chiefs, Nick Bolton has got to start getting some more attention. We got to, I don't know, maybe I'm sure he's getting plenty of attention in Kansas City, but he might be the best player on their defense. What the Chiefs are doing on defense, building it up, L'Jarius Sneed seemed like their best player. They just let him go. Chris Jones is probably still their best player, but Nick Bolton just making plays all over the place. He's the one that stopped Robinson on the final play. That Chiefs defense is so good that I don't know. I told everybody, don't bet against Stroud or Mahomes. Just save yourself the anxiety. Let's go to the Vikings game because that the Vikings were like, screw that. We're just going to beat the crap out of the Texans. Are the Vikings going to win the Super Bowl? Like, where are we at here?
So I've seen Sam Darnold did this with the Panthers a couple years ago too.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to need to see him walk it out for at least a couple more weeks before I'm fully sold. But a big thing for him is that this system is great. He's got Justin Jefferson who can make it work with legitimately. You could put a high school freshman at quarterback, and Justin Jefferson would probably get 50 yards with him. He's in a perfect system. Darnold is to succeed. Aaron Jones has been really, really good as well. And the defense for the Vikings has been really strong. It's been really hard to score on them. They are a dangerous team. And with the Packers missing Jordan Love, there's a chance they could gain some ground there if Malik Willis starts losing games.
Yeah, so Malik Willis got to play the Colts at home on the home opener. Then he got to play the Titans. Now he's going to play the Vikings. The game is home for the Packers, but that Vikings defense, yeah, I heard. I mean, shoot, some of the numbers with the Vikings are wild. What about the Rams 49ers game? I haven't had a chance. Did you see enough of it to explain here what's going on with the Rams?
I heard about what happened, but I didn't see too much of the game.
Let's skip that one because I haven't dived into that one then as much. What about the other game that I wanted? I should have probably asked you beforehand if you saw any of these games. But what about Charger? Did you get the Charger-Steelers game early in the day?
I did get the Charger-Steelers game. I was sweating out George Pickens like the entire game and stuff. It was a weird game. It wasn't super fun to watch, to be entirely honest. It was a lot of punting, very conservative play calling by both coaches. There was not a lot of going for it on fourth downs. There was a lot of 4th and 2 on punting the ball. Mike Tomlin did not want to take any risks that game at all.
Yeah, the reason I wanted the interesting takeaway from that game is I want to find which 3-0 team or which 0-3. That's why I picked the Vikings there. Now I'm going to the Steelers. I want to find which 3-0 team or which 0-3 team that we're going to zag on. Because that's the most fun, at least from a gambling perspective, because you want to find value. So the best way to find value this week is which 3-0 team is overvalued and which 0-3 team is undervalued. Steelers, geez whiz, Steelers go to Indianapolis. I don't know if my stress, I don't know if I can take betting on the Colts again and TJ Watt coming around on the side. Gut feeling, I know it's only Tuesday, but Vikings at Packers, Steelers at Colts. Which one of those do you think is more likely to be 4-0?
Probably the Vikings. I think the Vikings are actually a really competent team this year, and I think they are going to win. I think they could be a playoff team. I wouldn't be too shocked given a 3-0 start and beating the 49ers and stuff. I think they have the pedigree to do it. I do want to see more from Sam Darnold, but the Steelers are another team that they just don't lose games. I don't know what they're doing. The play calling, they're such a weird team. They look so flat on offense 90% of the time, and then 10% of the time it's just a deep ball that you look at. It's a beautiful deep ball, or it's a run after catch for 50 yards. They're a weird team, but I think Fields really does fit what Mike Tomlin wants. He's a guy that can throw the ball deep, but he doesn't need to, and he's not doing it a lot. But when the defenses start to sink in and start to sell out for the short passes in the run game, Fields can burn them over the top with a big pass. They're both really shocking and sneaky good teams.
I'm hoping Fields loses the game and the Colts are able to win being in the Dome. Really surprised there's more Bears fans than Colts fans at that game. Is that not a far drive? I mean, I guess it's not that far, but
what would it be? 4 hours? Be a 4-hour drive from Chicago. If you're coming from like Midwest Illinois, but be about 1.5, 2.
Where are we at with the Seahawks? That's the other 3-0 team. I loved the Seahawks. I feel like it's the team I've been the most right about, but they have played 3 terrible quarterbacks. You were dead right about the Skylar Thompson. So I know we were on the same page there as you made your bet. Seahawks at Lions. Do you believe in the Seahawks? Or would you be, if I told you they were going to win 8 games or 13 games, which one do you think would be more likely?
Probably 13. I think the West, the NFC West looks it looks like the talent's a little closer together than we originally thought. I don't think the 49ers are as good as they were last year, and I think the Seahawks can beat them this year. I know there's a long history in Seattle of not being able to beat the 49ers, but I do think that with the new coach, the defense looks really sharp.
I
And
mean,
I
they
think
shut him out. Gino threw an interception basically on the goal line.
Mhm.
And the Dolphins got 3 points, and that was it, right?
No, yeah, and so they look incredible. It was Skylar Thompson. The week before it was Jacoby Brissett, but they aren't making the mistakes against the bad teams, which gives me optimism against the good quarterbacks and the good teams that they'll allow a couple more points and stuff, but it'll still be, I think, a 14 to 20 point scoring no matter really who they're playing in that game.
Bengals, Titans, Jaguars are all 0-3. One of them is going to make the playoffs. If I told you that, who would you bet on?
Bengals.
Got
Probably
it, right?
the Bengals.
It can't be the Titans. That's
It
going to be my
can't.
worst take of the fucking season. I said before, I was like, they're my 6th seed to make the playoffs. I think I had the 6, them as the 6, and the Browns as the 7. They'll probably be like the 2nd and 3rd pick in the draft. But what did the Browns do, by the way? Before I go to the NFC,
Oh my God.
you were dead right about Neighbors. That probably was your best bet of the day. Every ball goes to him. You said every ball was going to go to him.
The Browns suck. I really don't like to just open-ended they suck. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what's going on there. It's been for a couple years now. I think he's just not very good. We all have to wrap our heads around the fact that there's not going to be a comeback. It's not happening.
Yeah, for him, the off the field stuff is one thing, but it's really just the ACL. His whole kryptonite was scrambling around. The Texans had that terrible offensive line, but he would never get sacked. He did the same thing at Clemson to beat Alabama, and he just doesn't move great back there. Right?
He's a pocket passer now, and he was never accurate enough as a passer to just sit in the pocket and pick people up. He was good as an improviser. It was that Aaron Rodgers style of playing where you get out of the pocket and you find a guy on some improvised route, but he can't improvise anymore if he can't get out of the pocket, and he can't do it. And the Giants made the Browns look pretty awful, and that's really shocking.
This Giants-Cowboys, this will be the last game we talk about because I know you got to roll in a few. Giants-Cowboys is Thursday night. This would be my hot take with the Cowboys. The fact that they came back like they did against the Ravens is a 1,000% reflection on the Ravens. I'm not giving the Cowboys any credit. The Cowboys are perfect when everybody's playing prevent defense. Dak throws it 10 yards over the middle. Guys are wide open. But they can't run the football. This game's in New York. They absolutely, I don't know if you remember, but they absolutely embarrassed the Giants 40-0 last year. I think it was opening week, right? On Monday Night Football or the week.
Yeah.
I expect the Giants. I'm big on the cheesy locker room stuff. And I saw a couple things after the Browns game. Nobody believes in us. Now they're home. Nobody believes them. And again, how are the Cowboys 4.5-point favorites? I'm going to take the Giants. I feel like the Cowboys just they need to fit. I'm down on the Cowboys. I give them no credit for coming back. I just blame my Ravens for playing ridiculous defense.
I think the Cowboys are going to have to prove to me that they are actually the same team from last year. I don't think they are. I'm going to need them to show – I'm going to need Dak to show that he can be the main guy and not have to lean on some kind of solid run game because he doesn't have it now, and – he's going to need to start looking at CD. They're going to have to find ways to just get CD really involved in these games if they want to win football games. They haven't been doing it a lot. The yards have still been there pretty well, but they need to start getting the receptions there. He needs to be back at 7 to 10 a game if they really do want to compete with other teams. And I know people are going to say, well, they're going to double team him. You're going to just have to find a way to get him the ball because he was
not great. Yeah, Nate Wiggins forced that fumble early in the game. He's going to be a really good player for the Ravens. There's one of the things I like to kind of remind myself and remind people is statistics in the NFL. I've always just put the rule of thumb that they don't matter until Thanksgiving because it's all matchup based for the first few months of the season. So if one team, I think the Commanders were a pretty good example of that. They can't score any touchdowns. Now all they do is score touchdowns. So you have to look at the matchups and figure out, instead of just looking at statistics and rankings, who did these teams play early? And is there a trend going that direction? And my thought is this Giants defense must be really good because they were able to stifle Washington. I'm going to go back and look at the film, but I'm leaning towards this Giants defense being good enough that maybe the Giants do win 8 games, maybe throwing dirt on them early in the season. I don't know. what was the score? I know they got smoked by the Vikings, but now the Texans got smoked by the Vikings. So I'm not sure if the Giants are terrible. Looking forward to that game. Any final thoughts or anything just on your brain from college? You had a great weekend. I mentioned it yesterday. I know you feel 1-2. Yeah, it's annoying to go 1-2, but your analysis, and if people are listening or reading, it's not that you have to follow JMart's bets, but he's absolutely trying his hardest, number one. And number two, I don't do the player props because I don't enjoy – I'll have just FOMO the whole game and I'll just be mad. But I do like your analysis. I like listening. And then there's certain things like last night, if I was going to follow your bets, the one bet I would have followed would have been the under with Gesicki. I didn't think that made – so anyway, I appreciate –
that one killed me. Look, sometimes teams score 5 touchdowns in a game, and it doesn't matter how many snaps you play, you're going to get open enough for Joe Burrow to find you. Definitely didn't expect that. Definitely was on Gesicki kind of getting played out of the game. He had a good game, and I'll always give him credit for that.
Well, was there any other thing that jumped out at you or any college football take? Georgia's out at Alabama. We're going to do a college football show, me, you, and Clayton. That's going to come out Saturday morning, do a lot more college football. But if there's any other thought here in the last couple of minutes before you roll?
I've heard going into the season, I heard a lot of people on Commanders to win the NFC East. I think you were part of that.
Yeah.
It might happen. It could happen. There is a world where the Washington Commanders win the NFC East. And
I'm down on the Eagles. I'm still down. Already bet the Bucks. Excited to bet the Bucks. I don't know what happened to them. I think sometimes you overlook a team. It's hard to get up every single week. They just played the Lions. Broncos beat the crap out of them. I think the Broncos might be good, actually. I
think Bo Nix is going to be solid, but I think he's not going to have a Will Levis kind of game, but I don't think he'll ever have like a Jayden Daniels level of just all-out dominance, 4 quarters, constant pressure. But I think he can be an NFL quarterback, and I'm actually really happy for him with that.
Sweet. All right, man. I appreciate you getting up early. We'll do college football. I purposely did not spend any time on baseball as I'm mourning the regular season of the Orioles. Just is what it is, getting ready for the playoffs. And so for anybody that cares still about the Orioles, I'll talk about them tomorrow morning, but we're not being negative. I can't do it. It's just sometimes once something bad happens, it's over. And now it's over. So there's no point to be negative anymore. Just try to make sure we make the playoffs here. And be nice to go 5-1 so I could win my bets. But to be honest, I've already counted it as a loss. So, all right, that's that. Hope everybody has a great day. If you need anything, get in touch. And JMart, I shall see you. Well, I'll see you a bunch of times, but we'll record and have it out Saturday morning. So, all right, see you, buddy.
All right, yeah, see you.